Steve Pennaz is on the road.
What's September 8th? We're on Highway 53 through northern Minnesota, headed up to International Falls, Fort Francis, Sioux Narrows, and then Lake of the Woods with Lake of the Woods houseboats. I'm going to meet up with Naig from Northland Tackle. He's already across the border. I'm a little jealous. I'm behind schedule right now. I'm driving a little over the speed limit, and I hope we have no issues at the border, but I can tell you what, the forecast looks great. I'm looking for a great trip out of Lake of the Woods houseboats.
I think a houseboat trip is special because when you come to an area, you can come back at night and you're on the water.
On the water is a big term on Lake of the Woods, as there's nearly 1 million acres of it and some 65,000 miles of shoreline to pick from.
I just like it because you can position it where you want, away from the crowds, close to your fishing spots.
I'm ready. A beautiful day of paradise. The thing that I like about Lake of the Woods is the diversity of the fishery. I can fish walleyes in the morning, I can fish muskies in the afternoon. If I get tired of those, I can chase smallmouth crappies, and the fishery is second to none in my opinion.
I mean, this lake is probably the best in the world, if not one of the best.
I get asked the question a lot through my travels, what's your favorite lake in the world? And I tell them every time, Lake of the Woods. I got mine.
Yeah.
Look at that one. That one's just
nice.
perfect. That's good vittles there.
As you can clearly see, it didn't take the guys long to catch their dinner.
I'm eating tonight. They look great in the frying pan. Good one?
If saugers got to be 20 pounds, they would be the meanest fish in the world.
Naig is one of those guys that absolutely loves walleye fishing. It was fun to watch him in the front of the boat. He'd hook up and he'd have this little smirk on, this little smile the entire fight as he brought these fish up.
Watch this. Now you stick the net between your legs. Perfect.
Nice. Fishing spinner rigs can be as simple as you want to make it. Just put a spinner ahead of a live bait rig and drag it along the bottom and tailor your presentation.
This is a live forage golden perch.
Got 10-pound fluorocarbon on here, 100% fluorocarbon. Just a standard bass rod, a Veritas rod, 6.5 feet, and a Revo reel. I'm of the old school walleye guy where you fish little tiny sinkers, little tiny hooks, and finesse presentations. And to put on a thing like a slick stick or a bottom bouncer and look at it, you go, I'm gonna scare every wall in the lake away with this thing.
A better name for it would be a bottom feeler. You want to keep it just so it's just ticking the bottom. You don't want to bang it on the bottom.
This is a shore launcher. It's a nice keeper.
Did you see that big fish with it, Steve?
No, I didn't. Pike?
Muskie or a pike. Big.
Was it?
Big following.
Put it back down.
There.
Look at that. He's 18.
Beauty.
On this particular trip, we are catching most of our fish with a size 4 blade, which is relatively small, but our big fish came on the number 6 blade.
The fish get big by eating big things, and when you put a larger blade down there, a lot of times you will get larger fish. Oh yeah, I think I better net that one.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, you had a nice one.
Let me grab the net for you. Stepped right into the net.
Yeah.
Nice fish.
Thank you. Lake of the Woods, I think, is one of the unspoiled areas of the country. The scenery and the wildlife on Lake of the Woods is second to none.
Not to mention walleyes like this one. Stay tuned for more. North American Fisherman is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. By Berkeley Trilene, anglers trust Berkeley Trilene, America's strongest. Quebec, providing emotions since 1534. Yeti Coolers, wildly stronger, keeps ice longer. And by these other fine sponsors. Steve Pennaz is fishing out of a houseboat on Lake of the Woods with Naig of Northland Tackle, courtesy of Lake of the Woods houseboats.
You know, a houseboat trip like this one behind us is basically considered a floating cabin that has all the amenities. Hot water, a stove, a microwave.
You can fish off the boat. The scenery and the wildlife on Lake of the Woods is second to none, and that's one of the things that I love about it.
The guys are going after late summer walleyes.
I really like to use a spinner rig because the fish are more scattered out.
There's one, Eric. Nice fish. Hey, he took my gulp. This was a situation where we brought both live bait and gulp crawlers. Oh, chunky that guy is right there. The great news was the gulp worked just as well as the crawlers. You know, when we run into a lot of smaller fish, a lot of times what I like to do is go to an artificial, especially in a situation where you got panfish, perch, bluegills just tearing your crawler apart. I just dropped this gulp down and went about 15 feet and we caught another nice walleye here.
Not a big one, just a good one.
Can you believe how calm this is out here? Oh, nice one.
He's a good one. They are beautiful, aren't they?
You can see this complex that we're fishing at the point that comes out and running up and down the top in that 28, 29 feet of water. Here's a fish right here. And the other thing that's important is my speed. I'm at 0.8, 0.9, running the trolling motor. It does differ with the wind direction. And I'm just going up and back across this. You can see another walleye here. Here's a walleye here. We got some bait up top. And these spinners are just coming right along the bottom, right in front of their face.
Better one, Steve?
No, he's barely hooked. Look at the size of that one, Eric.
Nice one.
This guy's probably in that slot. All right, I'll let you go. Just chill. There you go. Ah! I don't know what it is about the fish itself. I mean, every fish is exciting to catch, but when you see that little white tip down at the bottom, that's exciting for a walleye fisherman. That's a nice one there. Lunch size.
While they're finding good numbers, these are by no means trophy fish. So as the day wore on, the guys fine-tuned their presentation.
The secret we found on this trip was not to fish the top of the humps, but to find the transition zone where it went from a soft mud bottom to the hard hump. The bigger fish and the numbers of fish were right along that transition line between the hard and the soft.
It's just like any other creature, a whitetail or whatever. They're going to be on the sweetest spot on the structures.
Look at that. Oh, this is a size 6 blade. I went for big fish here.
Giant blade.
A giant blade. Get him up here.
Yeah. Big giant blade.
He's not 5 pounds, but he's a beaut. Big, healthy. Look at the size of those teeth. His eyes. Classic walleye right there. Oh. Yeah, great guiding there, dude. Let him go. There he goes. That's a nice walleye.
When we talk about blade sizes, I think it's very important to match the forage that you're fishing. So early in the year, we'll use smaller blades. Later in the year, like in the fall and now, we can get by with some bigger blades because the bait fish have grown up. Look at this fish.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
He's beautiful.
Well, get him up here.
I will.
All right.
You're not going to tail net him, are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to tail net him. Hey, that's a nice fish.
Oh, look at that one.
Gorgeous one.
We've been catching some little ones. A lot of nice little ones, but we put this bigger blade on, this actual number 6 blade, trying to pin in a bigger fish like that. And look at there. It's so warm, I'd like to swim in there with him. There he goes.
Here's a fish. Heavier fish. A lot of times you'll hook a walleye in the bottom of the mouth or the side of the mouth. That makes them fight a little bit differently. Ooh, he's not a giant. He's not a giant. They can feel heavier. Not a bad one. He's in the slot. Classic walleye, right?
Oddly enough, a perfect summer weather created another challenge, as hot, flat, calm conditions are typically tough for catching walleyes, especially in September.
I like walleyes because they are so unpredictable. You can catch a walleye in a foot of water on a jig. You can catch a walleye in 90 feet of water on a big giant crankbait. And they can be anywhere in between. That's the reason I like walleyes.
My goal for this trip was to have walleye dinner every night. I love fishing walleyes, and the limit here is 2 per person. My favorite size to keep is a 15 to 17 inch walleye. They're perfect in the frying pan, and when they're fried golden brown and eaten off the top of the houseboat, there's nothing better. When you use the right gear, you catch more fish. And I want you to enjoy the exact same success that we did on today's show. That's why we're giving you a chance to win the selection of lines and lures that we use, including a spool of 10-pound trilene 100% fluorocarbon, a spool of 12-pound trilene 100% fluorocarbon, and 5 packs each of 4 and 6-inch gulp night crawlers. To enter this free drawing, go to Facebook and like the fishing club. Then, click on the TV tested Win What's Working button at the top of the page and follow the simple instructions. Love to fish? Then like the fishing club on Facebook. There's a lot to like and a lot to win.
Next up, Knot Wars. Then Dr. Hal Schramm examines trout mortality when North American fishermen continues.
Welcome to Knot Wars, where we put fishing's best knots in a head-to-head competition to determine which knots you can count on. Now, last week in a tremendous battle, the Nanofill knot beat the King Slinger as we search for the strongest knot for Superline. This is an important competition because relatively few knots work with these great lines. For consistency, all testing will be done with 14-pound Berkley Fireline. The weekly winner will be the knot with the highest overall average after it's tied and tested a minimum of 12 times. If you missed last week's competition, here's a reminder on how to tie the Nanofill knot. Double the line and run the resulting loop through the hook eye, making sure you leave plenty of line to work with. Bring that loop up the main line and make 2 wraps through the newly formed loop. Next, run the hook through the doubled line, moisten and tighten. The challenger this week is the outstanding Reback knot from the 2011 season. This is a unique knot. Here's how you tie it. Start by running the tag end through the hook eye, then make 4 loose wraps around the hook shank before bringing the tag end back through the hook eye in the same direction as the first pass. Now here's the tricky part. Slide the 4 wraps over the hook eye and up the main line, and then tighten carefully by pulling on the hook, tag end, and standing line. So it's the Nanofill versus the Reback. Which is stronger with super lines? Let's find out. I have the knot testing machine already set up. We've got the Nanofill knot here on the left. We've got the Reback knot here on the right. You'll notice I had to tie it on a hook. That's why we have the addition of the hook. So here goes the competition. We have a winner. The Reback has beat the Nanofill knot, but look at this score. That's insane, 30.4. In fact, the hook broke off, but the Nanofill knot broke first and then the Reback. And you know what that means? It means the Reback moves on to next week where it's challenged by the fantastic Burke knot. By the way, if you'd like to practice the Reback, the Nanofill, or any of the knots featured in Knot Wars, simply visit fishingclub.com and click on Knot Wars, or better yet, download the free Knot Wars app, now available on both Droid and iPhone. Knot Wars, because no good fish story ends in a broken knot.
Trout need cool water to survive. Many of our wild trout fisheries in the western United States are sustained by a devotion to catch and release angling. In cool water, the survival of angled and released fish is very high, but it declines greatly as the water temperatures warm. Meteorologists forecast warmer, drier conditions for the western United States. Montana fishery managers wanted to know what the effects of the forecasted warmer and drier conditions might be on their blue ribbon trout fisheries. Is voluntary catch and release sufficient to maintain these fisheries, or might other regulations be necessary during the summer to keep mortality low? To assess the effect of temperature on survival of angler-caught fish, teams of anglers fished the Smith and the Gallatin rivers. Fishing was allowed with fly rods and flies only. Captured fish were quickly placed into net pens in the streams. 72 hours later, survival was measured. So what were the effects of temperature on the survival of angler caught and released fish? For rainbow trout, temperatures below 68 degrees, 0 mortality. From temperatures from 69 to 73 degrees, 8 to 9% mortality. At temperatures 74 degrees and greater, mortality ranged from 9 to 16%. The mortality of brown trout was much lower. Temperatures below 68 degrees, 0% mortality. 69 to 73 degrees, 0 to 1%. At temperatures above 74 degrees, mortality was 2 to 4%. The higher mortality for rainbow trout than brown trout certainly was not unexpected. Brown trout have a considerably higher thermal tolerance than do rainbow trout. A concern, though, is the 8% or greater mortality for rainbow trout at temperatures above 70 degrees. That level of mortality could severely reduce the quality of fishing that these premier trout streams provide. As temperatures warm, might closures of the fisheries during the summer be necessary? Possibly so. Warm temperature closures? Yes, when appropriate. Good for the fish, good for the fishing.
The following products have been field tested and approved by members of the North American Fishing Club. The Not Too Kinky Leader is made of a super elastic alloy which can be stretched and bent at least 10 times more than ordinary steel leaders without permanent deformation. William Whitebread of Berwick, Pennsylvania liked that it was a wire you can tie, making it better than similar products on the market. If you would like to become a field tester, text the word FISH plus your email address to 57682. Going down, we'll show you a weighted hook that'll get you there faster when we return.
Anytime you fish a new body of water, there's a learning curve. And when Hal Schramm and I taped that new lake segment for last season, we really struggled. It was Hal who came up with the secret, and it wasn't a matter of tweaking our choice of baits. The choice was tweaking the sink rate of the bait.
There you go.
In recent years, anglers nationwide have come to realize that by tweaking their lure's sink rate, they can have a dramatic effect on their success. So what is sink rate? You can use the term to describe two things. Number one, how fast the bait sinks, but number two, how the bait sinks. Baits sink in 4 general ways. Straight down. Given enough weight and enough slack, a front-weighted bait like a jig will fall straight to the bottom. This is ideal when pitching a heavy cover, but bass can ignore baits that fall too fast or too slow, and that day with Hal really opened my eyes to that. 2, angled or spiral descent. By adjusting a hook or weight position, you can greatly alter a bait's descent. Number 3, horizontal fall. If you hook a bait in the middle like this Berkley heavyweight worm, it's going to fall in a horizontal fashion. The good news is if you add a little bit of weight to the hook, you can actually get the bait to have enhanced action as it falls. It gives a little more wobble. 4, side swimming. You can also weight a bait so that it wobbles side to side or back and forth as it falls. As anglers, we tend to stick to classic presentations because they worked for us in the past. But if you look at fooling fish as a process and a moving target, it makes it easier to try new baits and new techniques. One of the most exciting weights I've seen in a long time is the new Sabile soft weight system. See this little black pellets? Well, these are made out of a tungsten gum rubber, and you simply screw them onto your hook like this, and they allow you to customize any presentation. These new weights open a whole new door for customizing presentations that even pressured bass have yet to see.
I'm Brad Hatzel, and welcome to North American Fisherman's Border to Border. Our goal each week is to take you around the country, highlighting the hottest bites that are going on right now. Today, we head from one extreme to the other.
Hi there, this is Captain Tyler Capello coming to you from beautiful Tampa Bay for your March fishing report. Right now, the flats fishing is off the hook, man. We've got a lot of big speckled trout and redfish all schooled up all over the grass flats here in Tampa Bay. Redfish schools from 1 to 400 fish are all over the place, and the trout fishing doesn't get any better. And as the heat of the day gets up, you move out into a little bit deeper water. You've got bluefish, mackerel, kingfish. There's about 5,000 black drum all over this flat. Yes, sir. Fishing Tampa Bay in February. That's what you can expect right there. Tight lines, everybody.
The end of March and April approaches. Late ice is phenomenal fishing.
You know, part of fishing these remote lakes is actually finding places that people haven't really kept all the big bluegills out of. Bluegills are one of my favorite fish to fish for. They fight, they're colorful, and they're not always the easiest to catch. And a true 1 pound bluegill is a real prize from the Midwest all the way to New York.
Oh, there he is. He's wow, that one's heavy.
Oh, what a hog. That's what we came for. That, my friends, is over a pound. Some of these lakes still have them, but they're exceedingly rare.
We'll keep you on top of the hottest bites from around the country on North American Fisherman's Border to Border.
North American Fisherman is brought to you by Yamaha Outboards. Reliability starts here. By Abu Garcia, for life. Berkeley Gulp Alive. Looks alive, feels alive, tastes alive. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter of hunting, fishing, and outdoor gear. And by these other fine sponsors.